Hey there, John Cofield here from Cofield Web, and today we're going to install Python 3.7 in Windows 10. The idea here is we're going to get you started so you can begin developing and learning Python. There's a bunch of ways we could install Python 3.7 on Windows, but we're going to do it through the Anaconda distribution. So first let's take a look. This is a brand new installation of Windows 10. Let's look for the command prompt by typing in command down the search bar there. So we're going to open up a command prompt and let's see if we have Python installed already. So let's type in Python -- version and we see Python is not recognized. So that means it's not installed, it's not connected, we're good to go. So let's open up your favorite web browser. I'm going to use Chrome. And type in anaconda.org. Anaconda is a fantastic utility that combines a lot of the best features of Python and a lot of cutting-edge tools in both Python and R for data science, and really a lot of great tools to quickly learn and become familiar with Python. So let's go ahead and click download Anaconda, and we'll see if we scroll down a little bit. We'll make sure Windows is selected there, and we're going to select the Python 3.7 version. That's going to download. You'll see it's going to take a little bit because that's a fairly sizable download, 486 megabytes. So that should take about 2 minutes. So we'll be back when that's done. Okay, we're all done, ready to install. So I'm going to go ahead and click the exe right here. And it, of course, is the 64-bit version. We're going to hit next. We're going to take a look at the license agreement. And then agree. And the next question is, do I want to install Anaconda and Python just for me as a user in this computer or for every user? So in this particular case, I'm going to click every user. And it's going to ask me, do I want this to change particular settings in my computer? And I'm going to hit yes. And by default, it's going to install at C program data Anaconda 3, which is great. It's going to use 2.9 gigabytes, and you can see I do have that space available. Now, here's an important part. If I had Python already installed, I wouldn't want to click this button to add Anaconda to the system path. In my particular case, I don't have Python installed, so I actually can click it, and that's going to help me utilize Python in other ways down the road, and we'll go through that in a later video. But if you don't have Python installed, go ahead and click this. If you do have Python installed, it's probably best that you don't. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit install. Okay, it has completed, so I'm going to hit next, and then next. And I don't necessarily need to learn about Anaconda Cloud right now, or how to get started with Anaconda. So let's go ahead and hit finish. Fantastic. Okay, so let's minimize Chrome. And if we type in Anaconda, now we see there's a couple of new options: Anaconda Prompt, Anaconda Navigator. Those are the two main things we're going to use. So let's go ahead and hit Anaconda Prompt. Now, if I do the same thing to check for Python, we can see I have Python 3.7.3. Fantastic. Okay, so Okay, the other thing that came along was pip. So let's take a look at that. Pip dash dash version. Now pip is a package manager, so if I wanted to install other things, NumPy, pandas, any other package, I could do that with pip. Also, and even more important than that, was Conda. So let's take a look at Conda info. Now Conda is a package manager as well that came with the Anaconda distribution. Fantastic way to manage packages within the Conda environment. So you can see I have 4.7.10. Okay, my favorite tool for learning Python, and even in development, I'll use this tool to quickly prototype things. That's Jupyter Notebook. So let's type in Jupyter Notebook. Now this came along with the Conda distribution. So I'll hit enter. And behind the scenes, that started a server at port 8888. And you can see that right here. Now, basically, this is a process now that's running from this command prompt. If I wanted to stop it, I'd hit Control-C and it would stop that process. But this is Jupyter Notebook. And you can see it's basically a file explorer right now. And I'm going to hit Desktop. And I'm going to hit New Folder. I'm going to click on the folder here and hit Rename. My Python Test. Now, obviously, you can name this anything you'd like. I'm going to click into it, and now I can start creating Python scripts. So I want to hit a new notebook, Python 3. And this is just basically an environment where you can play around. So let's just say I created a variable test equals 3. I hit Shift Enter, which executes that line, and I could say print test, Shift Enter, and it prints 3. So basically I can now run my Python scripts in this environment and rerun them. So let's now say I go back and hit 4, Shift Enter, Shift Enter, now it's 4. You can see the power of this, being able to jump around in particular sections of your program, test them, fix them, test them, fix them, things like that. And you can see that this is running that Python 3 installation that Anaconda created. Next, we'll take a look at how to create virtual environments and to create different kernels in Jupyter Notebook, so you can have different environments throughout your machine where you're potentially working on different projects. You don't want to collide in the Python that you have installed, or the packages, or potentially just the versions of the packages could be different. So we're going to take a look at that next. We'll get into more details on how to use Jupyter Notebook and the shortcuts, ins and outs, things like that in a different video. So for right now, let's go ahead and hit File, Close and Halt. That stops that particular kernel. And then we're going to stop the server by hitting Quit. Now, if we take a look, that has stopped the server. Let's go ahead and close that tab. Now we're going to create a virtual environment on our desktop. So the point of a virtual environment would be to keep all of the packages, even the Python version, specific to the project you're working on within that environment. So you might have multiple projects going on your computer that require different specifics, different packages, different versions of Python. So this is the way you can isolate them so they don't collide into each other. Let's take a look at creating that virtual environment. Let's type conda create -n, and then the name of the environment. So let's say my env, and go with that. And if I want to activate this environment, I hit conda activate, oops, my So now you can see a prefix before the command prompt, meaning I'm actually in that environment. So if I hit Python version, it'll show me the same version, but I could have installed Python in a different version by hitting instead conda create -n -env and specifying a Python version like 2.7. That would have installed Python 2.7 instead. So now let's take a look at installing a package into our virtual environment. So we would type conda install, and then the name of our virtual environment, and then the name of the package. So let's say NumPy. And it asks me, do I want to proceed? Yes. Okay, it's all done. So now I should be able to import NumPy into my Python scripts. So let's just go ahead and start a shell session here by hitting Python. Okay, so let's say import NumPy as NP. Now obviously that worked because it's able to find it in this exact environment. Let's take a look at now the Anaconda Navigator to look at a different way of approaching this. Let's open up Anaconda Navigator now. It'll take just a second to start up. And once you've got it started, you'll see that there's a few applications that come along with it. Some very fantastic ones: Jupyter Notebook, Jupyter Lab, and then Visual Studio Code, which I highly recommend. Fantastic utility there. If you're not using that as an IDE, you might want to download that. And up at the top there, you can see the applications, the different environments. There's their base environment and their new environment that we created. So if we click on the Environments tab over there, you'll see both environments, which is really nice. As you can see, the base environment that came with the Anaconda install is there, and then the my-env environment that we created is also there. So if you take a look at this list on the right, you'll see all the packages that came with the base environment already installed. These are Python packages ready to go that are managed by Conda. Now, the reason we have these separate environments is because your project might not need everything that's installed in that base environment. You might have specific needs, and it's a very short list. You don't want to package all of these different things in with your project, just the requirements that you have. Also, some of the packages might not be the same versions. So if we wanted to install a new package like pandas, we can go ahead and just type pandas in the not installed list and then hit apply, and that would install pandas in the my-env environment. Now if I wanted to work with the my-env environment, I can click the play button and hit open terminal, and there I am with a shell already in that virtual environment, which is really nice. I don't have to hit activate and things like that, which is great. I also can open it up in an actual Python shell when this is already activated as well in that environment, which is really nice. To get out of this, I just type exit with curly brackets and exit again to get out of the shell. The next thing we're going to want to do is launch our new environment in Jupyter Notebook directly. So if we click on the base virtual environment, we'll notice that the base virtual environment actually has the option to open it in Jupyter Notebook. But then when we get down to the my-env environment, that option isn't there. And that's simply because the Jupyter package isn't installed in that environment. So that's something we're going to take care of next. So there's two things we're going to take care of. We're going to install the Jupyter packages in this environment, and we're going to install the kernel for this environment in Jupyter Notebooks. So we opened up a session here by clicking the play button, and you'll see the environment is already selected, so you're good to go. And we're going to type in python-m ipy kernel install --user --name, and this is going to be the name of the environment, and then the display name, which is going to be what I want to see, or it's displayed on the screen. So in this particular case, we're going to hit new kernel. So in Jupyter Notebook, this is what I want to see. Now, we've noticed that IPY kernel isn't installed in this virtual environment, so we're going to go ahead and install that now. So to do that, we're going to use the Conda package manager and type conda install IPY kernel. And this is going to install the IPY kernel package. And it'll say there's other packages that need to be installed along with it. So I'm going to hit Y to proceed. It's going to take just a second to finish up. And now we're going to install the kernel by doing the same thing over again that failed because IPY kernel wasn't installed. And now that kernel will be installed in Jupyter Notebook, and we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and start Jupyter Notebook by typing Jupyter Notebook. You can see the server starts there. If we go over to the right and click New, you see New Kernel is an option, which is great. We choose that, and we've now created a new Jupyter Notebook within that virtual environment using that kernel, which is great. So let's just get out of this by clicking Close and Halt. We'll leave it, and then we'll shut down Jupyter Notebook by hitting Quit. Close the window. Then if we go back to Anaconda Navigator, on the right-hand side there, you can see if we search for the word kernel, we'll have to click Update Index, and that will show us all of the packages. And IPY kernel is now there under my env, which is great. You can see that Conda install shows the packages here. And now if we try to click Open Jupyter Notebook, we can see it still doesn't work. And that's like we said, the Jupyter packages aren't installed in this virtual environment. So we'll click All there, and then we're going to type Jupyter. And we can see the Jupyter package is not installed. We click it, and then we click Apply, and then that will begin the installation process. It might ask you if you want to allow Python to change your computer, and you want to say yes there. And now if we click the play button, you can see that Open Jupyter Notebook is an option in that environment. And you'll see the server start. Obviously, our kernel is available. Let's take a look at how we actually manage these kernels. So let's click on the play button, open a terminal in this virtual environment, and we're going to type in Jupyter kernel spec list. And this is going to show us the installed kernels in Jupyter Notebook and their locations in your file system. So let's say we wanted to delete a kernel. We would type Jupyter kernel spec remove, and then the name of the kernel, which in our case, if we wanted to remove my env, that would be it. We're not going to do that right now, so let's type exit and get out of that. And one thing to note here is, so far we've used the Conda package manager, and that's fantastic, a lot of flexibility there, but we could also still use pip. Pip you're going to find quite a bit out on the web. A lot of tutorials are going to tell you all about pip. So if we look, we can see in our environment that pip is available. And in this case, it's 19.2.3 for the version. And if I wanted to install a package, I would just type pip install and then the package name. So in this case, let's do the requests package. Now that's going to install the requests package, and it's going to install it in this virtual environment. If we wanted to use things like list to see all of the pip installed packages, we just type pip list. That'll show us all of our packages that are installed. And now you can see that the requests package is installed. But if we go back to the Conda-based packages and hit Update Index, and we try to find the request package, what you're going to see is the request package is actually showing as not installed, because the Conda package manager doesn't have it as being tracked as installed. If you're going to use Conda-based virtual environments, I would highly suggest you try to use the Conda package manager only. If you're going to use a VENV or virtual env or some other virtual environment container and use pip as your package manager, then use just pip. Otherwise, you're going to run into issues when you're trying to figure out your requirements in the end. Stay tuned for other videos on using Jupyter notebooks and installing Python.